I didn't tell you about this. I misheard Bobby with one of his sports friends the other day, and I thought that his sports friend was proposing to him, when in reality, he was proposing to teach him cricket, which is a completely different conversation, but I was cooked by this point, so I had no idea what was going on. But I went up to this guy, and I was like, you know what? I don't dislike this idea for tax purposes. Who doesn't want to have a fourth person in the house for tax purposes?
Hey, Will.
Yeah?
When you're doing the podcast...
Yeah. Tax purposes.
No.
Tax purposes.
Get him, Annabelle.
Who has the fidgets?
Loopy from all the Celsius.
Yeah. I don't blame him. This stuff is affecting me pretty badly, too. This is pure garbage you're ingesting.
I feel different.
But it has
I feel dizzy.
But this has the certified vegan.org. Oh, that's not healthy. I thought that was the hard part.
No, that's just an ingredient.
Give me some more pineapple coffee. How much is left of this shit?
How much caffeine is in there?
I don't know, like fucking...
But it's also guarana seed, or whatever that is, which amplifies the effects of caffeine.
200
and
mils.
taurine.
Oh, it's 200? 200 milligrams of caffeine.
You have 3 different
Get him
stimulants
this.
in there.
This at least has 180.
There's Nican in it, too. And riboflavin.
Yeah, this is just all kinds of stimulants.
Well, riboflavin is just
Pantothenic acid. Dude, I'm going to be so
stuff.
good at COD when I go home.
Biotin.
Welcome to another episode of Dancing with the Bards. I'm back, baby! Woo! It's a classic episode, like I never left. We got Brooke.
Hello.
We got Larry.
Woo!
We got Will.
Woo!
I'm here, Ian. I'm back. It's been like 3 months. Hello, guys. And it's been like 4 since we recorded an episode together, because I think we recorded Fire Tower early.
Yeah.
And then we were off the next month, and then I was unable to attend the last one, and now we're here towards middle to end of November, getting this all done before the Thanksgiving rush.
To be fair, I also would have quit after Fire Tower.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had fun with Fire Tower.
As a disclaimer, we've had about 4 Celsius between us and at least a scoop and a half of pre-workout.
Can I actually try that in liquid form? Because if I'm not going to sleep tonight, I may as well.
Yeah, here.
Yes, you caught that right. I did say liquid form. I did try some earlier, though.
Just dipped it in and
Took a line of
Oh, this did not mix well.
No.
Will, you got a spoon?
No.
Excellent.
Okay. So
the game for this month.
Use the stirring stick.
So,
Way ahead of you, champ.
this month we're covering a board game that's become increasingly popular lately, Azul. This open drafting tile placement board game was published in 2017 by Next Move Games and designed by Michael Kiesling. In this game, players draft tile pieces in order to collect sets and create designs for points. The game ends when the first player creates a horizontal line, and taking more of a tile than you can use can cost serious points.
Didn't see that mechanic come into play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that never happened.
Twice, I think. It really only came up twice where it affected anyone in a big way.
it was very satisfying. Yep.
No.
It was
Once was you.
Once was me.
Oh,
Will. Okay. But it also is kind of based in history a little bit, and art history especially. And I'm going to let Brooke talk about that because I know almost nothing about art history, and you took a whole college class on it.
I took several.
Yeah.
I'm no longer confined to just the materials. I now get to talk. And you have to listen, which is great. So Azul was inspired by traditional tile making in Spain and Portugal. This game mostly focuses on Portugal's connection to it, as the first person who gets to go in the first round, it's who's ever been to Portugal last. None of us has been to Portugal, but I was in Spain, in Sevilla, which also has a very big connection to the azulejo, which is what the tiles are, or what Azul is based off of. So those are the names for the tiles, and it comes from the Spanish word for blue. Traditionally, these were blue and yellow, but over the centuries started getting more colorful. So they have reds, greens, which we didn't see any on the board, which was kind of sad. I do like the green tones in these tiles. But they're mostly made in geometric patterns starting in the 13th century, where they were co-opted from the Islamic tradition when they were... I can't remember who had Spain at the time. Was it Moorish?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. There might have been someone else before that,
I know
too.
history.
Yeah, so during that time, the Islamic faith was very big and still is on not depicting nature through art, as that's God's creation, so you wouldn't be wanting to do that. So they got very into making symmetrical and intricate geometric artwork, mostly done through small tiles originally that were glazed in a singular color and then made mosaic style on the buildings. But as this grew in popularity, they ended up in the 15th century to start using like stamps so that they can actually fill in the different tiles and have one big tile. They weren't also just pretty. They were a very important tool to insulate buildings, so it would help reflect some of the heat and keep the cool in during the Spanish summers. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to add. Later in the 15th century, they also added depictions of different historical events, and it wasn't just geometric anymore when it truly became a Portuguese and Spanish distinct craft. And a great example there in Sevilla, they have a large Plaza de España, which is completely covered in these, including lovely hand railings that are all done in pottery in this style. Okay, I'm done.
Brooke showed us a picture of that, and it is worth checking out.
Oh, it is beautiful.
Super cool.
I will be honest, when I heard that we were doing this game, this is a gift from Ian because he knew how much I love art history. And I was so excited to see this being betrayed, even though I was a little afraid that it would be Watch Tower Part 2, where it was like a really cool concept that people wanted to bring, and it wasn't going to play well.
I don't know if this... I know this definitely trended through board game spaces. I don't know if it trended as much on TikTok, though, like Fire Tower did.
I don't think it was, like...
I think it's
predated.
It's earned its place a little bit more than Fire Tower did. I only say that because just kind of doing some research on this for cheat sheets and everything. Will, your cheat sheet is in your phone. I sent it to you.
I have been looking at it. So
Good.
I don't have it pulled up right now. It's right here.
Just in case you say later, well, I don't know how many expansions there are because I'm watching here. But it's 73 on Board Game Geek's list of like top 100 games, which is not nothing. To be top 100 of board games of all time for current ratings is not bad for a game that came out 7 years ago.
Yeah. And consider Catan came out, what, like 30 years ago?
Yeah.
And that's like 20-something. Yeah.
And I've actually, I remember I was talking to my one of my new bosses, and I was like, hey, so what did you do the other night? And he was telling me that his friend brought him to play this game, Azul, which he had never played before. I'm like, oh, we were going to cover that at some point. And next month. So.
Yeah, now we did.
Yeah. So I've heard of it coming up before. So it's about time we cover it.
Yeah. And we should probably get into the actual ratings now.
Yeah, number of players. This goes up to from 1 to 4, I think, right?
Hard number to 4.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
hard.
it's 2 to 4?
Is it 2 to 4? It might be 2. I know it goes at least 2. I thought it did 1, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, 2 to 4.
2 to 4, sorry.
I can do both.
Even so, I give it a 2 for that. I also, one of the reasons I give it a 2, less than normally, I'm like, 2 to 5 is my limit. I think that it's fine to be at 4. That said, when you're playing with 4 players, something I did notice is if 2 players have the red tiles in their bottom slot, which you have to have 4 in order to add 1 to your slot. 5 to add 1 to the tile board. It definitely impacts your chances of gaining more tiles. And even though the number of slots you have to pull from decrease with the number of players, the number of tiles in play don't. So you run into those problems a lot less if you're playing with less players.
I gave it a 3, just because it did have a scaling option with the little tile shops. So you had a set number of tile shops for the number of players you were playing with, which I think paces it out really well. I always love when a board game does that. I thought it was fine. I don't want any more than 4 at this table when we do this game. I think any more adding on would run into the problem you're talking about. So I think they've play tested enough and did it perfectly.
So I actually gave it a 2 for number of players, not 3, just because I feel like this game would not operate well with 2 people. 4 players, it's fine. It's a little... I wouldn't even say it's messy. The term hate drafting is going to come up a lot for me. because that's all it is. It just basically means picking something that you may not necessarily need in order to hurt somebody else. And with 4 players, it comes up probably more than I would have liked. I feel like you'd see that less with 3 players, but I think 2 players, this game would just drag.
I think it would be the exact opposite. I feel like with 2 players, the game would go super quick.
You have less shops open.
Yeah,
but even
it's like
still,
3
you have
shops.
more options for tiles.
You have way less options because you're going from 7 shops on the table to like 3.
8 shops on the table.
8 shops down to like 3 or 4.
4
You're
shops.
having the number of options, and when you put stuff out based on RNG, there's only one other person picking. But if you draw, fucking 12 blues, then everyone's getting blue that round. It doesn't matter, and if you don't need blue, it's going to be miserable.
But you have more opportunities when you do the draw each time. You're scoring
You
more
can
often.
have bigger swings, but you can have lower lows too.
No, I agree, but I don't necessarily think... I'll just say I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that the bigger blows and the higher rewards is necessarily a bad thing with less people. It makes the game go a little faster, and it allows you to score higher points without actually having 4 people in play.
I don't know. I'm looking at it from the perspective of if you don't need red and blue, and a red and blue are the only things drawn for 3 turns straight, you're spending 3 turns just losing points.
Yeah, but there's no realistic way you'd be able to do that because you have a maximum of 20 tiles, and
you can do it for 2 turns.
you can't even do it for 2 turns. If you had the worst pull and all 4 of your shots, that's 4 times 4, that's 18.
That's 2 whole turns then that you can beat.
4 times 4 is also not 18, it's 16.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that means on round 2 you have, again, worst pull, 1 shop that is full yet. But at that point, like,
I don't know. I wouldn't want to play this with 2 people.
I don't think it's...
I think it's safe to say 3 is probably the magic number with this.
Yeah.
With 4 players, you have less opportunities to get the same kind of tiles you need if someone else needs the same kind of tile. And with 2 players, you have less options to select from regarding the tile shops.
Yeah.
So 3 is definitely the magic number, and that's why I detract it a point for number of players. Because that's a very specific number for a game to work well mechanically.
And it's also a weird number.
Mm-hmm. But I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, most of us.
Half of us.
Well, you two are just arguing different points to the same thing.
But
I
that's
feel like.
I think, the good part about
But
it.
it kind of balances out to the same number either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Ooh.
That was a weird pop there, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Isn't he the youngest one at the table?
Yeah, he
Sure
is.
is.
Yeah.
It's cramping. It's cramping, boys. Oh, don't make me laugh.
There you go. Just laugh it out. Laugh it out. It's gonna.
Help, Annabelle, help!
It always gets darker before it gets brighter.
Stop.
For those
Stop it.
listening-
It really does hurt.
It's almost over.
It's not.
He pulled his stitch in his side
I did.
by stretching, I believe.
Yep.
Oh, that's healthy.
It might be the 2 cans of Celsius in
Yeah,
your body.
bro, all of your muscles have just contracted.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were yawning before, when I'm like, I can feel my blood. And now I know it's just because you have this in your system all the time.
No, I don't. This is the first time I've had 2 Celsiuses, and like the 3rd time in my life I've had any Celsius. This is Nelson's drink, but I'm tired and I don't trust the coffee.
Inclusivity. I gave it a 3 for one reason. The 2 blue tiles, one of them had artwork put on top of it, screened on, and I thought that was so clever. So the pieces are beautiful, but like, I don't see a world where those 2 would be confused, but that's because I don't have any issues seeing. But having one have the little designs on it and one not worked perfectly. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, that might be why there's not a green tile in there, because there's a red tile.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask Larry, it's green.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I-
he tried
Don't
to
know why I said green. I know it wasn't
what
green.
color is that bag?
That, dude, your fucking orange bag over there with the yellow handle?
The teal bag?
That bag is black, dude.
No, up on top.
Oh, well, I'm not counting that. The tail was there.
Outed.
The bluey tail.
I meant the dog tail.
Okay. So, what do you guys put down for inclusivity?
I gave it a 2.
I gave it a 2 as well.
I gave it a 3.
Do we want to discuss our 2s?
I mean, my main reason I gave it a 2 is I feel like the scoring mechanic is very opaque and I had multiple attempts to try and understand it, and I feel like every time I felt like I was getting it, it just... I'll talk more on it on comprehension.
Yeah, I took that out in comprehension.
But I still think inclusivity, if you're not a numbers person, this is not a game for you.
That's fair.
Or at least pull out the calculator.
Yeah.
I was leaning on Larry a lot instead of pulling out the calculator.
I actually reduced my
There-
score
Need math good.
I'll be completely
Better than
honest.
me.
There was the second time we played after the first round, I just completely was guessing on my points. I was counting them out, but I was still guessing.
This looked pretty. This should be worth a lot.
No, I mean you saw I was counting them, but I was like, I hope I'm doing this right.
I ended up giving it a 2 as well, just because it's not that the rules are dense, it's that the rules are not explained well. And even once they are, there's still a lot of small, confusing details. And I'll leave it at that because we're going into comprehension next anyways.
Yeah, I give it a 3 for inclusivity just because I didn't really see anything fundamentally wrong with it. It's mostly just shapes, colors, and patterns. And while there are certainly people who might struggle with that, I don't really think it's a disability thing. I think that's more just a personal problems thing. I struggled with it.
I was going to say, didn't half the people struggle with it?
butchered my pattern pretty early on, and I feel like a lot of people did too.
Yeah, but that's
just a
kind
skill
of,
issue.
Yeah, that's just kind of the that's the curve of the game.
Yeah.
I feel like to score well, there is a lot of, I don't want to say math involved, but there's a lot of pre-planning and knowing how a direction's going to fall. Because everything needs to fall in a diagonal line to score well.
Do you remember in 3rd grade all the pattern stuff that you had to learn how to do?
No.
Okay, yeah, I forget. You dropped out.
I was in 3rd grade 84 years ago, man.
Larry, if that joke only works if it's a realistic age, 50 or 60 years.
They do, because I teach radial symmetry to 3rd graders, which is what I think you're referring to.
Yeah. Well, it's you did the radial symmetry, but then you also learned about patterns with the square, circle, triangle, and then they give
That's
you the blank.
first grade, bud.
I
He learned it in 3rd.
Okay, a pattern ABA and ABBA. Those patterns are in 1st grade.
What is what's the one I know there's the shape one, but then there was the number one that came later.
Oh, it's still the same thing, it's just different names. So we now go by ABA, ABBA, and ABC patterns.
Is that where ABBA came from?
No.
Oh.
Stop, Larry.
We'll talk about that after.
Going into comprehension, I was going to give this a 1.5 until I remembered that I didn't understand how the scoring worked until pretty much the end of the second game. I wanted to play. Normally, we'll do one playthrough for games like this, and we'll base it off our first impressions. I wanted to play a second game just to see if the difficulty in rule comprehension was still there, even though we've done a full game of this. And you know what? It was. We realized we were missing part of the scoring the first time around towards the end. Larry made that connection, I think, the 2/3 of the way through.
The first game, yeah.
We did it with the second one, and people were still asking questions on how all this worked. I mean, beyond the difficulty with tile placement, the whole skill issue thing, reading through the rules, the cheat sheet in the corner of the boards did not really help all that much.
Rulebook was
one
trash,
comprehension. It was difficult to understand, needlessly difficult to understand.
Opaque.
Very
opaque.
I gave it a 1. I was so excited when I opened up the rulebook for the first time because it labeled the parts on it. So it told you which was which, it gave put them in your factory spot and labeled it C. And then on a picture labeled that C. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so easy. And then I saw the cheat sheet on the corner and I said, oh my God, that's going to be easy. And it only explained one aspect of grading at the very end, not the whole thing.
And it just, honestly, that rulebook made things worse.
Yeah, and then the part that kills me is it gave us an easy mode, and it was harder to understand than just the variant.
Yeah.
I was so excited to see them put all of these things into place, and they just didn't hit. It should have been a slam dunk. The work they put in should have been I don't know how to say it. It should have been easier than it was for the amount of time they put into this.
Or
Instead, they
implementation.
struck out. Since
Yeah.
We're still doing sports metaphors.
Sorry. It's the trucker hat that I'm wearing.
I know. I feel like you're about to deliver like a diss track or something.
No, it's going to be a song about her ex-wife. That's-
And she was a
Yeah.
wonderful woman. I did
Honestly,
terrible
looking
things.
at that hat, I'm surprised it doesn't talk about fishing.
So, for people who are not here, I'm wearing a Chandler hat that says, don't ask me how I did it, I just did it. It was hard because I went to the concert and it made me smile.
and also the flannel.
Yeah,
The
I'm
rolled-up
also...
sleeves. It's the rolled up sleeves on the flannel and the completely
I'm
contrasting
just
green shirt.
bi, okay?
Listen, I'm not dissing. That is my vibe. Okay, it's either that or tank tops, and I'm doing tank tops today.
I have a tank top on under this.
Hello Kitty, Mario Kart, tank
Okay.
top.
Style.
Now that we're all out in the open. Yeah, no, I was really disappointed. I thought it was going to be an amazing game, and I was let down. No, but just in the comprehension.
I gave it a 2 on comprehension just because I've seen things like this before. It honestly vaguely reminds me of Carcassonne in a way. And it's once you read through the rules for the 7th time, it's very easy to play. So it loses a point in the fact that I had to read the rules 7 times to actually know what I'm doing. But once I knew what I was doing, it was incredibly simple.
I imagine it'll be a game that's a lot easier when someone explains to you how it works instead of having to learn it yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like to, when we do things I haven't played before, I like to read the rules out loud like I was doing. So this way, if something doesn't click for me, somebody else might remember it while we're playing.
Yeah, well said. I gave it a 1.5 for comprehension. I already docked the extra point in inclusivity. It's a complicated game for no reason.
It's not even. It's just the rules are complicated.
Yeah,
Well, that's the thing.
The game itself is not complicated. Whoever wrote this rule book was like, this makes sense to me, and then just wrote it and didn't have it peer reviewed. Apparently.
Yeah, this is giving vibes of like somebody's
A guy
magnum
made this.
opus.
Yeah, a
like-
guy made this, not a company.
It gives Cone of Dunshire.
Yeah, that's what I was. Thank you. I was like, I'm trying to remember. Yes.
It does. What do you mean
I
you don't
still-
understand this?
I still want to see if we can cover that one time for April Fool's Day, or like
I think we could.
True, like if we did True American.
We should do both. We should
Yeah.
just do all of the absurd games from TV.
That'd be fun. Okay.
We could do like an April Fool's binge.
Yeah.
As far as availability for this goes, it is very popular, and that means it is everywhere. I got your copy at one of our, not quite local game stores, but in the vicinity. But you can also get this Amazon, from Target, which is like, at that point, it's made it into the Target circle
Target
for
sphere.
games. Yeah,
Yeah.
which means that they think it's profitable enough that they carry it in stores.
I will say availability is one of my 3 threes across the board.
I also gave it a 3.
Yep.
It's at Target. That's how you know it's popular. So, Brooke, you want to talk about the tiles now?
Kind of. I gave this a 2 for materials. I revised it because although the tiles are beautiful and well made and thought out, the board, like I loved the insert for it. It was very nice. The board could have used some improvements. We were talking about this when we were playing, that it would have been so nice to have a double board where they had little indents for your pegs and things, because it was so easy to knock them over trying to get to the shops. So one of my big things was like, you could make a labyrinth style. Like if you've ever played Labyrinth, they have 2 boards and it slides across, so you don't mess up the tile placement. It would have been so nice to have that on the tile tracker so you don't knock things over. Also, side note, this would have been great for a pour spout on the lid so it can get into the bag. Bag is beautiful. But it didn't give enough for me to say that it was a 3. It was beautifully done, but I saw so many easy improvements.
I gave it a 1.5 on materials. I was impressed by the tiles. The tiles are beautiful. The box organization, peak. Everything else, from the fact that you put the tiles into the middle of the table as opposed to off to the side, to the fact that there's a draw bag, but you don't put them immediately back in, makes the draw bag feel like it's just useless while it looks nice. There's a lot of weird choices with this.
It felt much like the rule book, where it was like there was so many things set up to make it an amazing game, like a last forever in history, like Catan style game, but they just didn't want to take that extra step. And like I looked up to see if any of the other boards had this, like if they had any special editions where they did little things, and I don't see much of a difference with the quality of the boards.
Yeah, we're never getting another Eclipse style game where everything has a place even when it's on the board.
I'm mad.
Shout out to Eclipse for that.
Let's go.
Keep going.
Good game.
I mean, I gave it a 3 for materials. It was that score is carried by the tiles, the bag, and the insets in the box.
Yeah.
The boards are frankly lacking. Like you said, they should have little indents or something to keep the tiles in. I think, and I don't quote me on this because I was just reading the description for the expansion, but they have overlays supposedly that can do that, but I could be wrong. It's called Crystal...
Oh, the Crystal Patio or whatever.
Crystal Patio.
Crystal
no.
Mosaic expansion.
Crystal Mosaic.
Yeah.
Crystal Mosaic expansion.
Yeah.
And
Oh, it does. In the Crystal Mosaic, it does have I still don't like that you have to buy it separately.
expansion, yeah.
I don't like that you have to buy it separately.
Yeah, don't
And,
pay money
for
something that
$15.
should be there.
Yeah. To be fair, I will save my critiques on the extras.
Yeah, I know that they sell extra player boards. I wouldn't be surprised if Etsy's already solved this problem, to be honest.
Oh, 100% Etsy probably has.
But yeah, other than that, I would have probably given it a 2.5 if it weren't for the fact that those tiles in the bag are amazing.
As you know, I grade on deliciousness of the game pieces. And
How tasty were they?
they were so good.
Good.
3 out of 3. The red ones taste like cherry. The
They
blue ones taste like...
Do kind of look like Starbursts.
We were saying in the first round, we should try and play the game but with Starburst next time.
Yeah.
I would be down for that. Yes, so they have solved both of my issues on Etsy. You can get wooden versions of the game board. And there's also a small scooper that you can discard the pieces into instead of the top of the box.
My problem is this game's been out for 8 years, and if Etsy thought of it, then the developer should have.
Oh, and it also fits into the organization of the box, the little scooper. Also, I hate the little black pieces. The little tiny squares.
Those are so unvibed.
And you get a little piece to say who goes first,
Forgot
and you
about
pass
those.
them around. That should be a lot bigger, and they could have done so many fun things knowing the history of these tiles. They could have done it so much more interesting than just a number on a tile.
So the one thing I will say with the first player and not changing the size of that is it still needs to be able to fit in the floor track.
It does, but they could have still...
They could have made a
Yeah.
space for it on
And
the
they
board.
could have made it look better.
Yeah, I
The
know that they
player
were
boards
giving...
don't fold, so they
Yeah.
could have.
I know they were giving a nod to the drawing on the tiles that happened later, but even those were more intricate than the one that they put down, like the number one.
Yeah, it could have been fancier. Could have been nicer.
All right, so that takes us out of system.
And into gameplay.
Yeah, into gameplay. Setup was a breeze. We set this up. Brooke set this up.
While you guys were chit-chatting.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't
like
even
5
notice I was
minutes.
doing it.
Yeah.
I noticed, and I was like, hey, you should pay attention to see how easy setup is.
Well, I was going to try and do the big reveal where it's like, hey guys, it's already done, compared to our last couple games.
But then Will would have given it a 1 for setup, thinking it was difficult,
Fair.
until we explained it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I don't
went-
know
it
if
went
I
by
think that
so
almost
quick.
happened anyway.
Yeah.
It did. It did.
So I did something a little weird for setup that I did the last time too. And it ended up causing me to give it a 1.5 because I started looking at setup as not how easy is it to take everything out of the box, but also how easy it is for me to be, or for whoever's doing it, to explain how to play. And that costed a 1.5 because actually taking it out of the box, great. But then all sitting down at the table and be like, hey, this is what we do. That took a little bit.
I mean, it was because we were reading the rule book. I feel like now if you were doing it and taking out the pieces, it would have been a little different. Because you would have been taking out the pieces into
So
the...
if you're with someone who's like, hey, how do I score? And I'd be
Oh,
like,
the scoring, yeah. The scoring
I'd be
you
like,
have to
well,
wait.
you count how many tiles there are. And they're like, but where? And I'm
Yeah.
like, both directions. And then they're like, do you count the middle one twice? And then I'm like, no. And then,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
so-
With explaining points, maybe I could see your point.
yeah.
Oh, God,
and
I hated
also the fact that duplicates can't be next to each other in a row, but they can be next to each other in a line. And like, there's so many weird.
They can't be next to each other at all.
No,
They could be up and down.
No, they can't.
Yeah, they can. I'm pretty sure they can.
No, they can't.
They can't be touching at all.
That's the
like
whole...
Sudoku.
Yeah, you can't have it in the same column or row. They have to be different.
Point proven.
Yeah. But again, that's because they should have had a more robust cheat sheet on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or as a separate card, because there's definitely room for it in the box.
It's a very spacious box.
This would benefit from having a little QR code to a guy.
I love when they do that.
Oh, that's so great.
I love when they do that.
They have... I keep on trying to get us... Did we cover High Five?
No, but we've done one other game that had that before.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one
There's a party game I have, a backpack game that has like a laminated QR code on it so you can just look up a video. It's great.
How's that peach coffee?
Oh, gross.
The coffee.
How about Rate of Play? I gave it a 3.
I gave it a 2 for Rate of Play. I just based off my willometer over here on how often he gets distracted. And frequently...
Yeah.
Frequently, we were forgetting whose turn it was, and not just Will, all of us.
Larry kept skipping me.
Yeah, people's turns were being skipped, and you know what that tells me? People aren't paying attention.
I was paying attention to my tiles.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to focus on, because you're not just looking at what you're doing, but you want to see what you should be seeing what your opponents are doing to get an idea of what's going to be out, try to plan ahead, and... in theory, that means that rate of play should be a 3 because people should be paying attention at all times. But there's clearly not enough there to keep people's attention, which is why I gave it a lower score.
Will?
Yeah, I gave it...
on the fly.
Yeah,
it sounds like something I said resonated with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to add some colors to the grading sheet.
Yeah, no.
I might just call rate of play the willometer.
The willometer, yeah. I also gave it a 2 because I couldn't keep focused on it. I feel like anytime I was focusing on my pattern, I would not be focusing on what was going on the game board, and vice versa. I'm very ADD. It's hard for me to keep track of multiple things at a time unless I'm deeply invested in the game. And I hate to say it, I was not deeply invested in this game. I was kind of invested, but...
I also gave it a 2 just because there is such thing as a game that the turns are too quick.
Okay.
And this was that. Your turn itself takes a matter of seconds, and then the person after you, if you took what they wanted, is going to spend a minute or two thinking their turn over because now their entire plan fell apart. And it does cause a little bit of people getting distracted easily when sometimes it's 20 seconds before your next turn and sometimes it's 3 minutes before your next turn. So I ended up giving it a 2 because of that. The turns are fast, but not always.
I mean, do you want to talk about your 3 real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 3, much like you have the willometer. I have the am I tapping my legs. So I have this weird habit of when I am excited about the game, I'm like tapping my legs because I'm waiting for my turn and I have to get my energy out because also ADHD. So I'm like there tapping. And I was tapping a decent amount this game where I was just kind of like waiting and excited and looking at everyone's turn. So I was pretty engaged for most of it. Minus the fact that I'm running on 3 hours sleep. So that was the only reason I wasn't really engaged at parts and may have accidentally forgotten it was my turn, is because I suddenly, the brain hit the spot where it's really tired and it just kind of shut down for a second.
Well, that's gone now. Thank you, Celsius and pre-workout.
Woo!
My blood's burning.
My neck feels itchy.
My insides are itchy.
So, yeah, rate of play, I think we were mostly in agreement on that.
2 to 3, yeah.
Yeah. Price, I gave it a 3. We're looking at... So it's $40 normally. As of recording, it's currently on sale for Black Friday purposes just about everywhere, and that should be the case around the time this releases, most likely.
It'll probably be even a little less.
Yeah. On their main site, the expansions were also on sale. I don't know how long this lasts. Normally the expansions are 15, or the expansion, I should say, for this. And it was at 11 when I was checking. So if you're getting this episode on the first day, worth checking out if you're interested in getting this game. Always like a good sale.
Use promo code BARDS.
I wish.
God.
Nothing will happen, but
one day.
use it.
One day.
I don't want to take money from game companies for the same reason that, like, Death Battle never takes money from like the people who they do their episodes on. Because if they don't get a good score, I feel like I've cheated them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't mind like getting an Amazon affiliate.
Yeah. Get
something not like from the actual game people. This is not here nor there. This is a Discord conversation behind the walls.
Bezos needs his money. Don't take money from Bezos. He's running low.
But yeah, I gave it a 3 for price. I feel like 40 is more than fair for most board games these days.
Yeah.
15 for the single expansion. Not bad either.
That's pretty average.
Yeah.
I mean, if you break it down to, it's a 4-player game, that's $10 per person, that's less than going to the movies, and you get more entertainment out of it.
Because, like, how much would you have paid
the
for...
movies were $10.
Shut up, Grandpa.
How much would you have paid for getting all of Carcassonne?
I paid $90.
Yeah, so...
But there's a lot of Carcassonne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carcassonne, that was, 12 expansions, 8-player game. You're looking at less than $10 per person at that point.
20 minutes of fun for a 4-hour game.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself. I had fun the entire time.
I gave it a 2 on price. So I gave it a 2 mostly because of the extras, like when they have the different versions of the game. I don't know. I don't know if it's fully worth the $40 for just the tiles. That's the only thing of value in there is the tiles. I wouldn't spend $40 on those tiles.
Fair.
Tiles that can be replaced with Starburst, mind you.
To be fair, they're I don't think the Starbursts look quite as delicious as these tiles.
Excuse you?
These tiles look more edible. They look like Turkish Delight, but
They
if they
do.
were opaque.
You know what? They do. They do. Now I'm really hungry, Brooke.
I'm being hungry.
Yeah, so I gave it a 2. I
You had
just
chicken nuggets.
Yeah,
Fine.
what are you talking
Chicken nuggets are not a meal or a snack.
You
I've
had...
had so many of those dynamites.
yeah, you-
Once you are
half a
18,
box.
once you are 18, chicken nuggets are a snack. It doesn't matter how many you eat.
That is a horrible way to look at
Yeah,
it.
no.
Yeah.
What's your price?
Oh,
number?
100% free all the way.
Okay.
$40 as someone who buys a ton of board games. I'd buy this for $40, play it twice, and leave it on my shelf. Like,
I'd buy it for 30. I wouldn't buy it for 40.
well, like 2 months out of the year, you can do that. So
Yeah, but then it should be like 25.
I'd buy this game. I gave it a 3.
Okay. How are we feeling about extras? Because I'm salty about it.
Oh, furious!
I gave it a 1.
I gave it a 1 between, well, we were talking about how something that should have been in the base game being put in an expansion. And I'm sorry, Azul Chocolatier.
I saw that.
That makes me mad. Like, I was so excited because this was art-based. Even the stained glass, fine, although it's a whole different game. Like, if you look at it, it's very different. Like, each of the expansions are different.
So
They should be different games.
they are different games.
But no, I'm saying, like, but the name should be different. Like, it shouldn't be
Yeah.
Azul Glass. It should be, like, a whole different name. Because the cool thing about Azul is it's paying a nod to the tile's name.
It's Belgian.
Yeah, so, like, if they put Let It as the stained glass one, that would be fun. It's giving a nod to the materials.
I'd given it a 2 because I wasn't particularly paying attention to the fact that it is a slap in the face to the culture of Portugal and Spain. But
Because I am culturally inept.
yeah, pretty much. My thought process was you have 4 separate games. You have the Queen's Garden, Summer Pavilion, Chocolatier, and Stained Glass of Citrus or something.
Yeah, but it's Azul stained glass of citrus. That's what bothers me.
Yeah, that part
Because they
didn't
don't
really
have
connect.
Yeah, because they don't
mentally
have the
with me.
same. They don't have any of the same things happening.
Well,
Like
yeah,
other than
'cause-
it being artwork and or chocolate, apparently.
My first thought
So
on this
no.
was the games play differently, at least a little bit. So that's fine. I would prefer them being separate games than being expansions of the same game.
I don't know if it
Because-
can be called an expansion.
It's not even an expansion, and if are you?
Oh no, I'm saying I would prefer it to be. I prefer that they're separate games as opposed to Azul being like, we're going to release 4 expansions for this game. They're going to just ruin the entire concept of the game because we want money.
I got
and
chocolate
instead they
on
just
my
got
wall.
one expansion that, albeit should have already been something that's included in the game, is just one expansion, and you don't need it to play. So I gave it a 2. I felt like that was pretty reasonable, although I could also see how someone who realizes the cultural significance of the
name.
The name and the source material,
And the
would
connection
be
to
wildly
the art.
offended at the concept of
They could
Azul
have made
chocolatier.
They could have made it so cool. You could have done temper,
But
which
I
is
am
a process in
culturally
chocolate.
insensitive.
I just think that there was missed opportunities because of the success of Azul. They wanted to put that as like somehow the new name of this game company, which
Yeah.
wasn't the name of the game company.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're
And
absolutely
it technically, okay, it's not an expansion. The other ones that I'm talking about, they're variants.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not enough of a variant.
right. They shouldn't have Azul in the name. They
Nope.
should just have
It's a cash grab.
Next Boot Games or based on tile placement game Azul in the...
From the makers of Azul, we
Yeah,
bring you.
pretty much.
Yeah.
We bring you a Chocolatier or Queen's Garden,
I want
Summer Pavilion.
Will, are you going to do a bit on extras? Because if not, I got a lot to say.
I mean, I have like one thing I wanted to say.
All right.
I think that I gave it a 1, obviously. I think it falls into the issue that we have with games where there's too many variants, and you guys have already said everything. So,
All right. So I just want to say it again because it just nothing grinds my gears more than a game that already works and then you slap something fun and new on it and sell it for the same price. That Pandemic, Risk, Monopoly,
Carcassonne.
Starter games do this, and I hate it. And I don't mean starter game as a negative connotation.
starter game. This is a finisher game.
But a game that is very accessible always does this because they're trying to mass market. And to me, it always comes off as maybe our product isn't good enough. Which, let your game stand on its own. And cool, you have a licensing deal. Do something fun with it, though. Don't make the same game with a different coat of paint. And Risk and Pandemic do it a little differently with some of theirs. Like Pandemic, they have a World of Warcraft one where instead of fighting a disease, you're fighting the Horde, and like the mechanics are actually different. Risk, there's about 15 Risks that are the exact same goddamn game, and then there's like 3 or 4 that are a little fun and different.
Risk is almost as bad as Monopoly.
It is.
I love Risk.
But when a game just does something with different colors and one different mechanic, you suck. You get a 1 from me. And then the fact that your expansion is things that somebody in the internet thought of and now you're bundling together instead of making a new edition also really makes me angry. I didn't want to give it a half point because that feels unfair because you guys are doing something. I'm not going to give you a 0 for that, but you're doing everything that I don't like.
I'm going to be petty.
Go.
Why do the chocolate tier pieces look less edible and fun than the tile pieces? These don't look as edible or
That
as
is a
nice.
crime.
I would.
I don't retract points in real time, but I just might this time.
Because they're
Those don't look good.
No, I don't want to
wanna
eat
eat
them.
those.
I don't want to eat them.
I'll eat the white one.
the
And
like,
maybe the blue one. The blue one looks like taffy, not chocolate.
It's a weird blue. It looks like toothpaste.
It looks like taffy.
Can I see the blue one?
It looks like
Oh.
it looks like blue saltwater taffy.
Okay. I don't agree with you, but okay.
That's fine.
Enjoyment, though. How did we feel about it?
I give it a solid 2. I thought this was a fun game. It's all the comprehension stuff is trickling down and hitting everything else.
Yes.
I would have liked it if the scoring was easier and not insane, and I feel like if we played this 3 or 4 more times, this maybe would have gotten a full 3 from me, but as it stands right now, 2.
I gave it a 1.5 for very similar reasons.
I'm also at a 1.5. I feel it's no Fire Tower.
Thank God.
I liked playing it, but there's a lot of things I did not like about how the game played. And I can't really call it mechanics as much as personal preference. I don't like when RNG is such a crutch in a game, because it's really just what's going to come out of the bag. And if it's not what you want, then find a new plan.
Yeah.
Improvise,
you can
adapt,
only
overcome.
when it's it's played in phases and then rounds. And when an entire round can go wrong because of a phase, that's not cool.
I also gave it a 1.5, which is wild that most of us gave it a 1.5 point, because usually half points are a little more rare, yeah. I was pretty meh about this game, to be honest, pretty much my entire way through. My first thoughts on what I was getting into was a non-competitive, build-your-own system kind of thing. Actually playing the game, it was overly complicated the first time, and frankly, the scoring was hard to determine the second. The source material didn't really keep me as interested, because I'm not as big on art history, and I usually prefer more direct interaction with other players during games. And yet, somehow, it was still so easy to just screw someone else over.
The player interaction is there, but
it's so indirect.
It's so indirect, and it's so pure spite-driven.
Yeah, so I'm still getting upset at people, but there's almost no real interaction between us.
The problem is 9 times out of 10 when it's player interaction, you're hurting yourself to hurt somebody.
Like, I piss people off more during Cosmic Encounter, and I had a lot more fun doing it, to be honest.
It's everything that I like in a game done wrong, and it's everything I don't like in a game done right. And it's in such a weird place for me, because I'll just spoil it now. I gave it a 3 on replay value, because I loved it the first time and hated it the second.
Yeah.
And it's weird because we played it right the second. There's actually, I want to do a quick interlude. There's a game I would love to cover at one point called Carnage. And every time we have played it wrong, and we've gotten it a little bit more correct. It takes about 20 minutes to play, and every time we have played it, we have liked it less.
I mean, you were talking about how, real quick, the how you feel about the game is really determined by like an RNG style system.
It doesn't feel good because you can bring it to the table and be like, yo, I love this game, and then you play it and you're going to have the worst game of your life.
And my thoughts on that, just bringing it up, is we have played one other tile placement game with a draft style, and that's Suro. And I love Suro. Your turns were still pretty much determined by the whims of fate, but it was fun to screw someone over pretty directly in that case, just by taking a tile piece, and have them have to change their entire path so they don't get knocked off the board. Whereas with this, it's still the same kind of concept technically, but like, and I don't want to say that they're the same game, because Suro is much easier and easy to understand. And
I think what really makes it stand out in that aspect is when something goes wrong in Suro, you can recover. When something goes wrong in this, you're done for.
Mm-hmm.
There is no catch-up mechanic. There is absolutely zero. Once your pattern is wrong, you have automatically resigned yourself to at least second place unless everyone's pattern goes wrong.
Did anyone here ever play the old point-and-click adventure games from the 90s?
I've played a few.
Okay. Like the first Monkey Island is a good example. If you screw up in the beginning, you won't know you screwed up until several steps ahead, and then you have to either you don't have the option in this game to go back and fix your mistake and redo everything.
Even Food Chain Magnate, which is an incredibly unforgiving game, I feel like has better catch-up mechanics than this.
I didn't understand Food Chain Mechanic the first time I played, and because of the catch-up mechanics, I was able to at least make it, I think it was second or third place.
And it notoriously has bad catch-up mechanics, to the point that they had to come up with an expansion called Ketchup and Other Mechanics, which is a pun, and I love them for it. But like, they knew that if things went wrong, there's no way to fix it. And that, straight out of the box, has better catch-up mechanics than this. Which is wild to me. That a game that is known for having bad ability to make up for a bad move still does it better than a game that is being sold at, like, Target.
Okay. How are you feeling about recommending it?
I actually gave it a 2 for recommendation.
Okay.
I don't personally like it, but I definitely know the kind of people who do like this kind of game. It's not really our friend group. It's like older people, I think, would really enjoy this game a lot more.
I'm really glad you brought that up because in my notes I said this would be good to play with my mom.
Yeah.
This is a game I would play with my parents. It's just the right amount of complicated. It's a relatively safe game to play with parents, or just the older generation. And I mean, I feel like it's a relaxed enough game, and it has the potential to not be as competitive, while still kind of giving it some sort of competition to it.
You'll get it on to say "fuck you" after a few drinks.
Yeah. This is definitely a drink with.
This is a drinking game.
Yeah.
I gave it a 2. I'd recommend this to quite a few people because I'm kind of interested to see other people's takes on how they feel about it. Because I know a few people who would play this and find this really fun, mainly because of the spite aspect. And then I know a few people who would absolutely hate this just from how quick the turns can go. It's really weird for my personal section to be a staircase.
Mm-hmm.
It goes 1, 2, and then 3.
So I gave it a 1.5. As much as I'd love to be, like, I can give this to some of our friends because we play board games, but I have a whole group of friends that I think about that have never touched a board game. I think this, especially with the rule book, would scare them off because they would not know what was happening. Even if I sat there and explained it, I feel like it would be, I don't think they'd be invested enough to play again like we did to try and make it work.
Well, like I said, I liked it less the second time.
Yeah, agreed. I liked it more the second time because I kind of understood what was going on, and I like understanding things. But I think that my friends wouldn't give it a second go if they weren't in our board game group.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
Replay
value.
Replay.
I gave it a 2.
I also give it a 2.
I gave it a 3.
I also gave it a 3. And, which, like I said, I don't even get myself why I gave it a 3. Because I want to play this again, and I also want to make this a game that I hide in my closet and never touch again. It's fun, it's simple, and I also feel like it's going to be a game that the more I play, the more I hate it, and I just don't want to touch it. And it's in a weird place for me.
I feel like this is like the crack cocaine of video games.
It
I
is.
know it's bad and it's not good for me, but I
mean
really want to play another round.
You mean your Toxic X? That's a better one.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely Toxic X energy.
Yeah.
Where, like, I did not like it, but I want to.
Yeah.
I can fix it. I know I can fix it.
That's what I've been saying this whole time.
I can house rule it. That's fine.
Because this game I had such high hopes for. Like, that's how I've been feeling this whole time. Is like, I want...
This always happens.
I know. I want to like it so much more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that, for the same reasons I gave it 2 for recommendation, really, is just, having played it twice, like you said, the second time you played it, it was somehow worse. But I do get it. At the same time, there's definitely a strategy there that there's a part of my, like, the voice in the back of my head is like, if you do this a third time, you can get this.
That's the autism.
Gambling.
I know the patterns. I can see the patterns. You're like Rain Man all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because I know what's going to happen is I'm going to get my pattern very well, and then someone, either intentionally or not, is going to absolutely dick me over.
That's me. That's my job.
No, it's going to be Ian's job, and the entire time he's going to be laughing and then be like, I'm sorry. This is better for me than it is for you.
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't intentionally screw you over. It could have been Will I screwed over instead. It just happened to work out that way. He was between the two of us, so he could have saved you, but he didn't want to.
I don't. I actively want to screw you over in every game.
Brooke won both games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Brooke's smart. She let the three of us fight each other.
Yeah, I hit third place.
I was looking at pretty patterns and trying to make them line up nicely.
It has the same energy that a lot of 4X games have, where you just shut your mouth and look at your board. Which is a really weird thing for a tile placement game.
Yeah. So is this a worker placement, Larry?
No, it's
no, it's an engine builder.
No, it's a drafting game. It's also a hate drafting game.
So your favorite part is next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give us the grid coordinates.
1 on innovative. It's not that innovative. It's Carcassonne with patterns.
We have a 2 in innovative. It's patterns.
I gave it a 1 because although it is innovative, I don't think they developed it enough for it to be a good kind of innovative.
It's shocking it stood the test of time so well.
See, I actually gave it a 3 for innovative.
Okay.
As far as the what's the right word? The
It's your
uniqueness. As far as how
Okay.
unique it feels, I felt like I haven't played a lot of games like it. We've only ever covered one other tile placement game on this, and not many other drafting games, and certainly nothing like it both at the same time. So I felt that in that regard, with also not having as much of a direct impact between players and kind of keeping to your own board for the most part, with some exceptions of luck of the draw. But really, it's not in your best interest to pull something to spite another player. It's really only in your best interest to pull something for your own benefit. I felt like those attributes made it a lot more unique than some of the other stuff I'd played it before. That said, the stuff that you guys are talking about, I gave it affected my other part of this. So
I feel like there's a lot of indirect player interaction.
yeah,
A lot of I didn't know that was going to absolutely ruin your turn.
which I was a little surprised at, because I know that that's not really Brooke's cup of tea as much.
Well, I don't think she knew that.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's the most friendly, family-friendly, mean-spirited game I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I like it. I just don't want to be mean to people in a rude way.
You don't want to be aware you're ruining somebody's day.
Correct. I want to do it by accident because I don't want to hurt people.
Hurting people is rude.
It
But
is
it's fun.
No.
It is fun.
As I've been telling one of my other friends that she needs to learn how to be mean to somebody at least once a week because it will help her mental state a ton.
Ever since there were 2 cavemen, one of them just has always had that thought in the back of their head of, what if I drop this rock on Paul's toe?
That was the 3rd caveman.
What if I kick this stool at
No,
full speed?
ever since there have been conspiracy theories ever since there were 3 cavemen.
Ever since God crapped out the 3rd caveman, there's a conspiracy that it was hatched against one of them.
Venture Brothers.
Yes.
There's
General
always,
Hunter-Gatherers.
there's always that part in the back of your mind that says, what if I kick this bar stool at Mach 4 into somebody?
There was a day when that intrusive thought won, Larry. When my voice raised 3 octaves that day.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
Which is impressive.
And he's hate played every game against me since then.
I'm not gonna lie, that is a big part of why I'm like, Larry can never win ever
That was your
again.
enemy arc.
It was like the beginning of my villain arc.
The rival arc.
Yeah, right?
That said, I think we're done with that sliding scale, right?
Yeah, so simple complex.
Yeah, simple complex. I gave it a 1 simple, because it really should be a simple game,
But it's not.
but it's not. By all rights, if someone were to come to me with this game and explain it themselves in words that didn't come from that booklet, it'd be fine.
If a traveling man brought this out on a tree
if
stump.
some random stranger walked up to me on like a train car and was like, "Hey, we're playing this game. Here's how you play." Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You make patterns with the tiles. It scores based on the tiles that are touching it and are next to it or in lines. That makes sense.
While saying it out loud, it actually sounds very old school.
Yeah.
It
It
really-
sounds like Mahjong or Dominoes.
It sounds like something you'd play with
Mahjong
rocks.
is terribly complicated.
Yeah, Mahjong is not a simple game.
I've been
Mahjong-
wanting to pick it up for
Well,
years.
So it really depends.
Well, I
If
meant
you're
like old
telling-
school though. It
No.
sounds
Oh,
old
but it's
school. Yeah.
No.
classic. I get
Yeah.
what you're saying, but it's not like it. That is an intense game.
Yeah, well, Larry was saying it sounded like an old school classic game. And
Okay.
that, yeah, it does a little bit, right?
Yeah, so if some guy just came up to me in the woods and was like, "I'm going to challenge you to this. You have to make
Duel.
patterns with these 5 different colored rocks." And I'd be like, "Oh, cool. So like, how does it work?" And he's like, "You cannot put rock next to each other." And I'd be like, "Oh, okay. That makes perfect sense."
Yeah, but it doesn't work out that way. If you play this from box instructions with the pieces given and the board supplied, no.
So I give it a 2 simple, mainly because I was like, well, I don't understand it, but maybe it's just because I'm stupid. I'm feeling a little less confident in that too now.
I gave it a 1 complex strictly because of the rules.
Yeah.
If I, once again, had a traveling merchant tell me how to play this, great time.
Yeah.
Well, not a great time. It'd probably still stand where
Yeah,
it stands.
really awkward. A lot of social anxiety problems.
Somebody's losing a kidney from that encounter.
Yeah, because I don't know what he's going to take when he inevitably wins.
The devil went down to Gamescom.
Yeah.
I gave it a 1 complex because of the scoring system. It was needlessly complicated. Like, it definitely was fun to see the numbers jump up real quick.
But once again, if just a strange man told you these rules on a tree stump, it probably wouldn't be
Why
that
tree
bad.
stump?
Yeah, what is your obsession with meeting strange men in the woods? It is 2023. You don't have to hide in the
It's
woods.
Because it doesn't happen anymore.
It's also not 2023, Punch.
It's
We're almost
2024.
in 2025, dude.
I prefer
There's less than
2023.
60
We all
days.
do, but we can't go back.
I'm just, for the next 4 years, it's going to be 2023, and then one day I'm going to wake up and it's going to be 2028, and we're going to have a new country again.
That's the spirit.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
We might not have a country, actually.
I'm
There's
fine with that.
plenty of islands that the billionaires are not using. Somebody just needs to get a
Oh,
boat.
they're using
No,
it. You
yeah.
just ain't gonna like what you find.
Yeah.
I'll take the island over.
Once
Okay.
again, strange men in the woods.
Let's
it's
get
coming
over
back.
it. Can we get back on track? I don't want to talk about this anymore. I've been talking about this for 2 weeks and it's not getting any better.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
At least we have fun with it.
We do.
Yeah.
Dissociate. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
All right, so final score. I'm sure this is gonna score in the high 30s.
Let me know when you have your calculator
I don't
open.
think
No, that was sarcasm.
I got it open.
31.5.
23 and a half.
28.
And I gave it a 31.5 as well.
Ooh, we're getting a fraction this time.
I feel
Spooky.
mean.
No, you're being realistic.
28.6 is the total score.
Hey, so
for
I was
this.
on track with our median.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that up here.
Why?
Because I usually try and keep track of those.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
glad someone
so-
does. We should
yeah.
really put this in a spreadsheet
About
at some
a little
I
point.
don't
over
have an
28 and a
organizational
half.
system. It goes in the filing cabinet and disappears.
That sounds about right, to be honest. It's a little better than half. It's like 3/4, like 75. In
It's
that range.
no fire tower.
Yeah,
It's passing.
It's better than Fire Tower. It's
And
better than
Munchkin.
some of the other games we played. It definitely has room for improvement.
It's better than Spyfall.
Yeah, well,
Weirdly enough, I think I'd play Spyfall again before I play this.
I wouldn't.
Well, Spyfall is incredibly misogynistic.
Yeah, I'm good.
but Munchkin, Brooke loves Munchkin.
No, I don't.
The game does misogyny.
Yeah. The game does ableism and misogyny. And racism. There's a couple of those cards are just gross.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think we're good, right?
Yeah, we're good.
I would just say, like, definitely look up the origins of these tiles if you get a chance, because it is a really fascinating history, and it does bring a different air to the game. Like, knowing how important these pieces are culturally makes a huge difference.
All right, so thank you for joining us for our Classic Bards episode.
Woo! Brought
Yeah.
to you by Caffeine.
Oh, so much caffeine, taurine, guarana seed extract.
I think I'm going to throw up after this.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and whatever the hell is in whatever Brooke brought. Or power body stuff.
I'm pretty sure that's what they
Headline
gave the
testings
Germans during the
always have
Second World
fur.
War.
Citrulate malate, and then pure calf, organic caffeine.
Is organic caffeine as opposed to what, like inorganic
Whatever's
caffeine?
in those.
Straight pumped from the dirts of caffeination land.
But if you would like to get in touch with us, you can email us at dancingwiththebards@gmail. Feel free to join our Discord server. Follow us on Blue Sky, Mastodon, Facebook. We are
Find me in the woods by a tree stump.
probably he is the strange traveler by tree stumps.
Yeah, he's just projecting.
Brooke, can I borrow this?
Sure.
Good.
I am not really going to be checking our Twitter account anymore, so I will probably be removing that at some point.
Yeah.
It is getting dire over there.
You know it's bad when all the sports teams leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've reported about 4 or 5 different ads that I've gotten for borderline stuff that really should not be
points.
COD points.
Yeah.
And I still see them all the time, so clearly no one's reading those
Complaints.
Yeah, complaints. So probably leaving that cesspool pretty soon.
We're trying to get back onto Twitch, so that's a good place to look at us.
Yeah, Twitch.
We didn't do it for this one because of the caffeine overload. We knew it was not going to be a very great stream for this.
Yeah, when we started reading through the rules for this,
We were like, we're not putting this out.
Yeah.
No way.
I want you to know that everything was set up to record it.
Yeah, no, we literally were like, we're taking the camera down and putting it on the other side of the room. This is not okay.
Either-
it
Shame.
was a huge headache getting all of the rules figured out. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us.
And
we
find
will
me on the Appalachian Trail.
And also, happy Thanksgiving too, right?
Yeah, it'll be right after
yeah.
Thanksgiving.
And we're
Yeah.
really thankful that for the people that are listening to this.
Maybe
it's
I'll
definitely
put this up on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh,
just
that'd be
so that
fun.
people can do it for road trips.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
And
thankful
then
for?
buy this at Target when you're doing your Black
Wait,
Friday
can we
shopping
do
at
that?
4 a.m.
Yeah, we should.
Can we be girly and like say what we're thankful for?
I don't know what I'm thankful for.
Yeah,
What are you
there's
thankful for, Larry?
right
Nuts
na-
and berries.
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine doing that.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for my family and friends who have been incredibly supportive these past couple months, where I have lost my job, had to move apartments, and so much other stuff. It's been great. Thank you, all you guys. Most of you, a lot of you are in this room right now. So
Yeah. I'm thankful for the podcast because I'll be honest, I love hanging out with you guys, and our lives are so busy now that we're getting older and getting real big kid jobs.
Yeah.
That like this is one thing that it's fun to share it with the people listening, but it's also fun to be in a room and making sure that we're hanging out at least once a month.
I'm gonna tie into what you're saying, and I'm thankful for the listeners because without them, we wouldn't be doing this.
No, we would do
would
this.
still be doing
regardless.
this. You're right.
yeah,
You guys,
We are
you guys-
thankful and thank you for listening, but let's be honest, we would
we're
do
doing
this
this
either
before
way.
we had listeners. We'll be doing it after.
Yeah, there are several episodes that will never be released that we still have.
I know it's gonna be the end of the world, and we're just gonna be sitting around this table. The mic's gonna be unplugged. There's no electricity anymore.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, and
Thanksgiving.
take a second to think about the good parts of your life, because right now it is so easy to like focus on the bad. So it's nice to sit back for a second and realize that, you know, there's a lot of good too.
Woo, I didn't have to do heartfelt.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it at nuts and berries.
Mushrooms.
I don't do mushrooms. They're only good for stews. And, you know, man, between skulking in the woods and finding a good tree stump and then following people,
There are
I
some
don't have
fun
time
things
for
you can do
stews.
with
You ever played the
I
first
don't
Red
have
Dead?
time for stews.
This is the guy from the first Red Dead. He eats nuts and berries, not babies.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I think we're done.
Don't shoot. I like nuts and berries.